All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jorge Acosta Palmera, and I'm the director of the Statewide Training Initiative with Florida Legal Services. We're excited to have you join us here today for Expanding Access, partnering with Florida Registered Paralegals through the FRP Outreach Volunteers Project. Before I introduce our speaker, I do want to go through some quick housekeeping announcements. This training is being recorded, so if you registered for the webinar, you're going to receive a copy of the recording and the materials and the CLE code from Zoom within 24 hours or so. We may also end up posting it on YouTube. I'll check with you on that later, but that's another way to find the recording and the materials as well. The training was approved by the Florida Board for one general CLE credit. I'll announce the CLE code towards the end. I'll drop it into the chat, and I will also include it in the email that goes out from Zoom as well. Closed captions are enabled for anybody who needs them, so if you're having any issues with accessibility, let me know. The training is being co-hosted by the Public Interest Law section of the Florida Bar, or PILS. So if you're not familiar with PILS, I'm going to include information about PILS in the email. Please click through the website and look at the work groups and the committees, just in case you're interested in joining. And final piece of housekeeping announcements, questions and answers. You can use the chat or the Q&A feature, but we're going to ask you to hold questions towards the end. That way we can finish the presentation and kind of leave the last few minutes for today's webinar to address any questions that you may have. So with all of that said, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Irma Tharp. Irma has been a Florida Bar registered paralegal since 2008, bringing over 27 years of experience in the legal field. She began her career as a legal assistant in an in-house corporate legal department, steadily advancing to become a corporate paralegal. Her career spans major multi-state law firms, boutique practices, and her current role at Daniel K. Bentlayer, PA. Irma holds an associate's degree in paralegal legal assistance studies from Miami-Dade College and a bachelor's degree in management from the University of Phoenix. She has completed numerous continuing legal education courses, further deepening her expertise across complex litigation, corporate law, family law, and non-litigation matters, including wills, living wills, power of attorney, corporate formalities, and guardianships. Irma has done it all. And there's a long list of organizations that Irma has served with or currently serves with. I'm going to include her bio in the chat because I want everybody to look at the long list of associations and organizations that she serves with, because I'm a big fan whenever I see that people serve in so many organizations. So with all of that said, I want to pass it over to Irma so we can start off and continue to celebrate. I think Pro Bono Week wrapped up last week officially, but I want to continue that celebration, and maybe we can treat it as Pro Bono Month and just Pro Bono Year, whatever we want to call it. And with all that said, Irma, I want to pass it over to you. Thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to present this webinar regarding the FRP Outreach Volunteers Project. Okay, so to begin with, I think that I should just let you know that we're going to start with the project introduction. I'm going to introduce the FRP Outreach Volunteer Project to expand access to justice across Florida. By introducing this project, we are connecting paralegals and legal aid organizations we are going to connect the Florida Registered Paralegals with legal aid organization for enhanced support and discuss collaborative goals, structure, and practical applications of the project. Before I get into that, let me go to the background. So the background is, in January 2025, the Florida Registered Paralegal Enrichment Committee, Standing Committee of the Florida Bar, approved the FRP Outreach Volunteers Project. And the project went live during the Florida Registered Paralegal Enrichment Committee in conjunction with the Florida Bar's winter meeting in Orlando, Florida. The project was created to expand outreach and awareness of the Florida Registered Paralegal Project. For a slight overview of the project was designed for FRP volunteers throughout the state of Florida to participate in professionally enriching experiences while assisting local legal aid organizations. Additionally, the project was constructed so that FRP volunteers can assist with tasks specifically designated and assigned by supervising attorneys within the legal aid organizations. Okay, so following up with additional information regarding the overview of the project. Project purpose. The purpose addresses the growing need for legal support among self-represented litigants in Florida. The matching process, the FRPs are matched with legal aid organizations based on submitted interest form detailing their skills, education, and experience. The focus areas, the project prioritizes meeting the urgent legal needs in family law, housing issues, and consumer protection, to name a few areas. Expertise and supervision, the FRPs work under licensed attorney supervision to improve service delivery and ease the legal aid organization's legal staff workload. I would like to give you the formal definition of a Florida Registered Paralegal. Florida Registered Paralegal is a designation created by the Florida Bar to recognize paralegals who meet specific education, training, and experience requirements. It is not a license to practice law, but it is a formal acknowledgement of professional qualifications within Florida's legal community. FRPs are listed in Florida Bar's directory and must adhere to ethics and are governed by the rules and regulation of the Florida Bar, specifically Chapter 20. The FRP designation signals that the paralegal has met minimum standards of education, certification, or experience. FRPs are required to complete continuing education credits to stay current and continue to maintain the FRP designation. Next, we're going to address the practical application for a legal aid organization. So the FRP contribution, FRP assists legal aid organization in person or virtually with document preparation, client intake, research, and case management under attorney supervision. Enhancing service capacity, collaborating with FRPs expands legal aid organizations' capacity, providing timely and effective client assistance. Ethical and supervision standards, strict ethical consideration and attorney supervision ensures compliance with professional standards in FRP involvement. We have a few success stories where St. Michael Legal Center for Women and Children, Inc. in Brandon, Florida, contact the FRP Outreach Volunteer Project and utilize a few FRP outreach volunteers for office work. And we also have the Bay Area Legal Service, who held a family law clinic in Clearwater, Florida, and a few FRP outreach volunteers participated in that clinic.
I actually have Linda Barak here with Bay Area Legal Services. Linda, I'm going to allow you to talk to see if you can come in and say a few words about that clinic and how you were able to work with the Florida Registered Paralegal volunteers.
Hi, sure. Lovely to be here today and happy to share our experience, which was really a great one. I'd met a couple of the paralegals from Pinellas County's FRP committee at a legal fair that the Clearwater Bar did shortly after the series of hurricanes that we had last year. And I just happened to be in the same room with them, and we started talking. And we sort of came up with the idea of them helping out with a family forms clinic. Um, we're in downtown Clearwater, right near the civil courthouse in Clearwater. And I had a volunteer attorney who came in. I run the volunteer lawyers program in Pinellas and Pasco. And it was a great collaboration. It was a small clinic. It was really just a pilot, but everybody was really happy with how it came out. It was here at our office, and we were able to assist 3 clients, beginning to end, and getting their family forms filled out and answer their questions, many of which were logistic in nature. And I think it's going to be a great continuing partnership I'm speaking actually at their meeting in December with a colleague of mine who's in our disaster relief program. And we're going to try to see if we can, find some different things for them to help us with. But it's a great collaboration. We had a wonderful event. They have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm thrilled to be able to help bring them together with our clients who really need their help.
Thank you so much, Linda. That's beautiful, and I think that's kind of the main purpose of this program. So thank you so much for coming in and sharing this success story. So back to you, Irma.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it. Okay, so the next area I wanted to go to is how to get involved. The joining process. So the legal aid organization can send the project an email detailing their needs for FRP support to initiate involvement. Matching and connection. The project chair matches the organization with suitable FRP volunteers to establish effective collaboration. Ongoing collaboration. The legal aid organization and the FRP volunteers provide feedback on their interaction with each other to the project. That information is used to establish communication channels and explore long-term engagement opportunities for sustained cooperation. So that tags on to Linda. So we would love to keep Linda. Okay, so this slide, we're just hitting a few key benefits for the legal aid organization for selecting FRP volunteers. So we have the expanded capacity and reach. Basically, it increased support. FRP assists attorneys with intake, documentation, and client communication, allowing legal aid teams to serve more clients efficiently. Broader community engagement, outreach focus. FRPs help legal aid organization connect with underserved populations through clinics, workshops, and public education events. For the professional expertise and reliability, we have the skilled legal assistance for FRP brings certified paralegal training and experience, ensuring high quality support in areas like family law, housing, immigration, and domestic violence, as well as ethical and procedural compliance. Their registration with the Florida Bar ensures adherence to professional standards, reducing risk and enhancing trust. As to the innovation and strategic support aspect, create outreach solution. The FRPs often contribute to developing new volunteer programs, digital campaigns, and partnership with schools, shelters, and nonprofits. Data and document support. They help streamline case tracking, reporting, and grant compliance, critical for funding and impact measures. Volunteer coordination and mentorship, Leadership in volunteer programs. FRP often mentor students, interns, or new volunteers, multiplying the impact of legal aid efforts. And retention and morale. Their presence boosts team cohesion and help retain volunteers by modeling professionalism and empathy. On the flip side, the benefits that FRPs receive from this partnership is the professional growth and experience, hands-on legal exposure. FRP gain practical experience in areas like family law, housing, immigration, domestic violence, often working directly with attorneys and clients. Skill development, volunteering sharpens legal writing, client interviewing, case management, and courtroom preparation skills. And they can enhance their resume by demonstrating commitment to public service and diverse legal experience, strengthens job applications and career advancement. The networking and collaboration aspect, they can connect with attorneys and legal professionals. FRPs build relationship that can lead to mentorship, referrals, and future employment opportunities. Teamwork in high impact settings, collaborating with legal aid staff and volunteer fosters confidence and camaraderie. As to the community impact and fulfillment, it makes a difference. FRP helps vulnerable individuals access justice which is deeply rewarding and aligns with many paralegals' values. There is empowerment through service, supporting survivors, families, and underserved communities, reinforce a sense of purpose and advocacy. Certification support, exposure to new legal tools and systems. FRPs are skilled and can master new case management software, intake procedures, and legal workflows. Additionally, FRPs can volunteer outside their areas of law, as the organization often provide training, giving volunteers exposure to all areas of law and opportunities to expand their judicial knowledge throughout the state. And last but not least, leadership and visibility, opportunities to lead outreach or training. Experienced FRPs can coordinate clinics, mentor interns, or represent the organization at events. Recognition with the legal community, which is active volunteers often receive awards, public acknowledgement, or invitations to speak at professional gatherings. So this concludes that part of the presentation where I take up all the time just explaining everything to you. So here is your portion where you can ask any questions you would like me to expound on.
All right, so we have a few questions in the Q&A. I'm going to read them in order. The first one that we have is, I think I may have seen one in the chat. Let me go ahead and see here. Okay, so we have one from Randall, and it says here, I am working remotely in Savannah, Georgia. I would like to offer my services throughout Florida in consumer protection, real property, small business, estate planning, and appellate law. How can I be of assistance?
Well, first of all, are you an FRP? That's my question.
So Randall, if you can, I believe I think Randall is an attorney, but I think the question,
Oh, he's
they can
okay.
probably
All
look at
right.
this question as both as an attorney asking like, hey, how can I assist the project? But also if I were a paralegal out of state or in
Okay.
state and I wanted to volunteer, if I'm a registered paralegal, how can I connect with the project and volunteer?
Okay, so connecting with the project is just sending an email to our email address. Let me go back to where I have it so I can make sure I'm not giving you misinformation. So you can email us at FRP outreach paralegals at gmail.com.
I'm dropping
And
it
once
in
you,
the chat here.
yeah,
Hopefully
and
I
once
don't have any
you,
typos.
and once you send us the email, we will definitely respond quickly.
So I going back to Randall's question and comment, it's also kind of a great way to, connect with both private attorneys and legal aid organizations that are willing to do this type of volunteer work. I'm going to make sure I have that email address because that's a question from the paralegal standpoint, right? Or even a volunteer, like I want to volunteer
Correct.
with this project. How do I reach out, right? So I'm going to, in a minute, I'm going to also share my screen with the intake form so the legal aid organizations can see how that works. And I'll have
Perfect.
all of these links ready, available, so we can send them out via email. Let me I'm gonna drop the link in the chat first in case people want to try it from their own device, but let's go ahead and click on it and open it up here. So let's stop the presentation for a second and show you how the intake form looks. This is the link that I dropped, and this is me, right, Irma, the legal aid organization. We're
Correct.
interested. We have we have the need for a paralegal. I just had a client come to one of my clinics, and he dropped off over 100 pages of Florida law forms, the family law forms, and they're all bundled together. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe next time it would be great to have a volunteer paralegal to help me sort through these forms, right? So how do
Right.
this is the form that I would fill out, right?
This is the form that the FRP will fill out. So
Okay,
if
my
it's
bad.
an attorney, that's okay. If it's an attorney that would like to, I guess, use one of our volunteers, that's a different that's going to be handled a different way. I guess they would just go ahead and email the project at that email address previously provided, and then we would work with the Florida Bar to connect that attorney with someone.
Okay, so that's the email that I had mentioned. So if you're a paralegal who wants to volunteer, registered paralegal, this is the form that you fill out.
Correct.
And if you're a legal aid organization that needs help, you basically email the same email that I mentioned
Correct.
before. And I'll have
Correct.
that email, I'll include it in the materials. I will also include it in the email that will go out from Zoom with all these links and resources. So here, if I'm a volunteer here, I'm filling this out. You see some red asterisks. These are mandatory fields, I'm assuming. So
Correct.
there might be some fields that can be skipped, but it seems pretty straightforward. Here, I assume you can choose more than one.
Right. Check all
In
that
this
applies,
case,
so you can choose multiple.
all right. So yeah, and you have the how many hours a week can you volunteer? Can you volunteer after work hours? Can you work remotely? And are you a notary public? That's a big one. And I guess there's a space here where you can add additional comments. And after all this is submitted, and it will go to you. So this one appears to be, Irma, like a firm, I'm 100% sure I want to volunteer. If I'm a paralegal that wants to volunteer, but I still have questions before I commit to this, would you recommend that we email you first? Send an
Correct.
email.
Correct. Just email me directly with the questions and we will respond accordingly and get everything cleared up.
Perfect. And once somebody submits this form, what should they expect next? How long does it typically take to get a response?
Well, it doesn't take very long to get a response, but you have to understand that there are quite a few volunteers, so we have to sort through everybody, but we always try to reach back and send okay, thank you, we have your information, and we definitely will, put you in where your expertise fits. Because if no one's asking for a certain area, then we can't put you there, but we have your intake form that says that you work in that area. So once that opens up, then of course we go and we match up the volunteer with the organization request.
Perfect. And this is where I guess I come in as the legal aid organization and I have a need and I send you an email and say, Irma, I need help with family law forms. If I say only that, I don't think that's very helpful. So what type of information do you think would be helpful from the legal aid organizations when we send you that email with the need, if maybe it's one client, maybe it's a clinic, what type of details do you find helpful to be able to start matching your volunteers with the legal aid organizations?
Well, actually, to be more specific with your request. So if you need someone remotely, say that. If you need someone in person, say that. And be more specific with what you would like them to do. So I need a volunteer to help me with the intake process. I need a volunteer to help me with my trial aspect. I'm having a trial. I just need the hands to help me put my exhibits together. Whatever it is, just be very specific as to what you need so we can be sure to get you the best person and make the best fit.
See, so if anybody has any questions, and if actually another thing that we could do is if you want to raise your hand, I can bring you off mute in case that helps as well. I think I see something. So somebody in the chat asked me like, "Hey, can you tell us a little bit about you?" So let me kind of reintroduce myself just in case for the people that don't know me that are here today. My name is Jorge Acosta Palmer, and I'm the director of the statewide training initiative with Florida Legal Services. So I help put together a lot of trainings for all the Florida legal aid organizations. Sometimes our audience is really only attorneys, but we also focus on the rest of the staff, and we try to focus on other legal needs, other ways that we can enhance our services and help with pro bono volunteers. And in this case, this is one of the reasons I was drawn for this program. It's a kind of a brand new program that was launched this year, so we're trying to help spread the word. So I tried to put together trainings based on whatever the needs in the community are. We look at trends. This month in October, it happens. Usually we celebrate Pro Bono Week towards the end of October. We had a recent webinar focusing on pro bono services from a legal aid perspective. So today we wanted to do this one specifically for paralegals. I see another question in the Q&A, and it says, can assistance from the Florida Registered Paralegals also be provided to grant-funded nonprofits, or is it only to legal aids? That's a great question.
Right now we're working with legal aid, but that does not necessarily mean we can't expand it. So the beginning part is right now with legal aid.
So we have another question here in the chat. Let's see. Is there currently a need for a Florida registered paralegal needs to clear with our employer? I'm not understanding the question necessarily. Is there currently, I guess, a need for Florida registered? I'm not sure if you could, the person that asked the question, if you can clarify the question, because I'm not sure I understand the question. I see another question that came in. Attorneys can earn up to 5 hours pro bono service. I love this question because we see this a lot. Pro bono attorneys can earn when they volunteer. They can earn hours for pro bono service, including CLE credits. So would this apply for Florida registered paralegals as well, or is there something
Not at this
similar?
time. Not at this time. Unfortunately, not at this time. We do not receive any pro bono hours for this volunteer initiative. Hopefully, we'll be able to in the future, but at this time, no, that's not one of the perks.
So there's another question that came in the Q&A, that it says, how do we clear, this is a great question, how do we clear any potential conflicts with our current firm? Which is something that we usually struggle with pro bono attorneys as well. How would it work with paralegals?
Well, definitely, I would suggest that your current employer is aware that you're going to, partake into the program. And of course, if there's any conflict of interest, you guys can deal with that on your end, where you let them know, well, this is clearly someone that we work with, or opposing counsel, you really shouldn't volunteer to do anything
There
because it
is a
is a
rule.
conflict of interest.
I was gonna say there is a rule that I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I did, but there is a rule that provides, when it comes to conflicts of interest, it does provide pro bono attorneys with some leeway on how the firm can rule out a conflict. So I don't know the rule off the top of my head. It usually focuses on what in the legal aid world we call limited services, which can sometimes be assistance with a form and we're one and done. That's a very common example, rather than full-blown representation. And I can find that the link to that, the specific quote for that rule, and I can share it in the email as well, because I think that's a rule that not a lot of people are aware of. It's pretty recent, and the idea was to help law firms that were willing to volunteer, but they were worried about potentially, uh, you know, coming into a conflict. Sometimes we have clinics where people walk in, so we don't necessarily have the ability to check for conflicts before. But if in that example that we were mentioning earlier, where I'm emailing Irma and the project with, I have a specific case for a specific client, I need in person, we're in litigation, this is what we need. I think that in that scenario, I would probably provide some information for my client and the opposing party. So that way,
Yeah.
if there's a matching process in that scenario, there's the ability to rule out a conflict. So I think that would be helpful information. And I see some comments in the chat. So there's
Well, let me
somebody
just jump
posted,
in
I'm
here a
assuming.
second. I definitely will go back to management regarding this specific question about conflicts, just to make sure I have a clear understanding, and then I can, revert back with it. Or, I can give you the information, you can circulate it to the attendees.
And I would welcome the audience to send more if they have any questions that come up afterwards, because this is a new program. So I think all these questions are great questions. So that
Yes,
way we can help develop, if these questions come up and maybe they didn't think of them beforehand, then it can be addressed and the program can
correct.
be improved. So I think there's another question here, another comment about one of the questions. Let me open up the chat here. So is there currently, I'm trying to find the question. So whomever asked the question, I believe you only need to get a waiver or approval from your firm if the firm itself requires same to provide pro bono outside work. And there's another comment called from Chrisia with the advanced waiver. I'm going to read it out loud for the benefit of the audience. Large firms often use advanced waivers to allow them to represent a wide array of clients without being restricted to potential future conflicts of interest. These waivers help prevent restrictions on future legal work that could be adverse to their clients. It is
Yeah,
important to remember that a waiver granted in one instance is not a guarantee for future conflicts, and each case must be reviewed separately. So great comment, Chrisia. Love it. Let's see. We have another question here in the Q&A. Do you have to work in the particular field to assist? For example, I have worked in family law in the past, but currently work in construction litigation and have trial experience. I do not see an election to help with pre-trial preparations. So if I guess going to this intake form here as a volunteer, if there's one option here that if I want to volunteer in an area that I don't see here necessarily, like pre-trial,
other,
what would be
see
the
other
best
down
way?
there? Yeah, and then you put
So
it in.
what? Yeah, when you click on other, the field comes up. So I guess this is
Yeah,
where you could say pre-trial. I'm not sure if there's a cap on how many letters you can put in, so I'm just doing this on purpose. I guess not. But I would also recommend, and Irma, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever doesn't fit here, maybe you can also elaborate a little bit here. So,
correct, correct.
right, so I'm gonna mark this as answered. Um, Okay, so there's another question here. Did I understand correctly that the hours done by paralegals cannot be counted as pro bono hours by legal aid organizations?
Yes, it cannot be counted at this time, unfortunately.
And I'll share some of the information on how it works because until recently, there were some changes that now allow pro bono attorneys when they do pro bono work where they also get CLE credit. So it's an incentive to provide volunteer work. Now, on the other hand, legal aid organizations also have some definitions for what counts and what is reported as pro bono work. Sometimes that involves any type of volunteer. Sometimes we have law students. So the legal aid organizations may have different definitions as to what counts as pro bono work for those requirements. Which I guess it's the question that followed up just now in the chat. Can the hours go towards the FRP credit requirements? And based on what I think Irma answered, the answer would be
No,
no. Okay, so there's another question that I'll address privately that came in through the chat. Um, and I don't know if anybody else wants to ask additional questions before we kind of wrap up and move on to the next slide. I have a question, Irma, that I figured if do you have the ability when you're trying to match if does it help if maybe when it comes to preferred language, maybe it's a specific client that speaks a language and maybe the paralegal will provide hands-on assistance. Do you have the ability to track if the paralegal speaks other languages?
yes, yes, we do.
So let's see here. Let me make sure I have no open questions in the Q&A. We have anything? Okay. All right, so let me go back to the slides.
Oh, So we're at the end. Okay.
Yeah, we're close, and
All
I'll
right.
share the CLE code with
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
All right.
So on behalf of the Florida Bar Enrichment Committee Outreach Volunteers Project, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your time. Thank you for attending. Next step, if you would like more information regarding the project, please email us at FRP outreachvolunteersproject@gmail.com. And just a nice little wrap up that I put for the collective impact. I said, together, we are more than legal professionals. We are agents of access, equity, and hope. Every hour volunteered, every case supported, every outreach effort led by FRP paralegals strengthens the bridge between justice and the communities who need it most. Legal aid organizations provide the platform. FRPs bring the passion, precision, and power to make it thrive. Let's continue to lead with purpose, collaborate with conviction, and ensure that no one faces the legal system alone. The future of justice is not just in our hands, it's in our hearts. Again, thank you.
That was beautiful. So I'm gonna drop in the chat a few things. This is all gonna go out via email as well. That's a folder where I've set up the materials. There's the CLE code will also be in there. And speaking of CLE code, I'm going to read it out loud. This was approved by the Florida Bar for one general CLE credit. The CLE code is 2514836N. So I'm gonna read it again. It's 2514836N. So I do see here that that Chrisia posted the rule that we were discussing earlier, a practical solution for conflicts at pro bono clinics. So I'm actually going to copy it and put it in the material so I can include it. Thank you, Chrisia. Chrisia is the best. She's always sharing great information. So Chrisia, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you, Christy.
And I'm going to read it out loud because this was the rule that I was trying to memorize, but it's to avoid conflicts at pro bono clinics. Rely on the short-term limited legal services exception under Rule 6.5 of the ABA Model Rules of Professional Conduct. This rule allows lawyers to provide services without a full firm-wide conflict check, instead requiring the lawyer to only avoid representation if they personally know of a conflict. For longer engagements or full representation, standard conflict checks are necessary. And this is the ABA model rule. The bar has kind of incorporated this rule into their own Florida bar rule. So, and Chrisia, I see your hand up. I'm gonna bring you off mute if in case you want to speak up because I know you have a lot of experience with this. So let me find you here, and I'm going to allow you to talk once I find your hand. Let's see. Here you go. Allowed to talk. Chrisia, you should be able to come off mute and talk.
Great. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, I'm part of Three Rivers Legal Services based out of Jacksonville, Florida. This is the rule that we put into place or use, I should say, for all of our clinics that are held monthly, our Ask a Lawyer clinics specifically. So our attorneys don't have to actually worry about doing a conflict check because of this short-term limited legal service that they're providing. If someone walks in that they actually happen to know about personally, which we did have an incident not too long ago, then they can let us know that that might be a conflict of interest for them. But for the most part, this is the standard rule that you would apply so that you don't have to worry about it. The conflict checks would come more into play when you are specifically doing like case placement, or if there's just too many specifics of a case that you need an attorney from either a solo practice or a large firm to answer questions about, and then you might, determining whether or not you're going to want to engage that large firm or solo practitioner, you may have to provide a little bit more information just to clear any adverse parties or things like that. So I just wanted to share that tad bit with you guys.
Thank you so much, Chrisia. And I'm going to drop a link to an opinion that I don't think a lot of people look at. And if whether you're a legal aid or a volunteer, I'm gonna drop it here. It's advisory opinion 92-1. Whenever you have time and you want to nerd out a little bit on conflict checks, I highly recommend that you look at that opinion because it's from 92, so it's been a while since it was issued, but the opinion addresses the ability for legal aids to partner with pro bono to be able to assist clients that could be a conflict. So it does provide some guidance in there as well. Somebody mentioned in the chat that the link to the materials appears to be broken. I'm going to drop like the long link for the materials. I'll try to recreate the short version again. If for whatever reason the one that goes out via email doesn't work, let me know. And there may be some issues with the permissions, but that one that I just dropped should work. So. All right, and I'll make sure to compile all these materials and I'll include it in the email that goes out. So yes, that's one of my favorite opinions, 92-1. So it's been a while since
Got
I've
it.
quoted it. Definitely a good one to look at. I don't think a lot of people consider it, and it does allow us to provide assistance to more people that are in need. So well, we have some extra time if anybody has additional questions. I'm getting the green light that the second link works, so I'll make sure to correct it before I send out the email. So well, I don't, any other questions, any other ideas, whether it's conflicts, suggestions, maybe even if you want to share about if you're a legal aid organization, we know family law forms are probably one of the biggest needs, but
Yes.
what are, what are other needs, whether it's estate planning, this is a great opportunity to share with Irma, what are some of probate, there we go. So
Probate, yes. That's a big one. Yeah. Yeah.
probate. I know estate planning always comes up. And Irma, I'm curious, have you heard about driver license reinstatement clinics?
You know what? No, I haven't. I haven't. So that's going on, huh? No, I was not aware. Bankruptcy, that's correct. That's
So with driver
correct.
license reinstatement clinics, I'm going to send you Irma, a few resources for some upcoming clinics that we have.
Oh,
Some of the
great.
legal aids
Okay.
are hosting. I will also send you a link to last week's video so you can start meeting some people. If I would say anybody here is in a pro bono department, I would highly recommend you email Irma and introduce yourself because it would be a great connection to have. One of the ways that I
Absolutely.
see this happening, we have a lot of the legal aids have specialized clinics. Sometimes it's a family law clinic. It could be a probate or estate planning clinic. It could be, a bankruptcy clinic. So I think it really helps. Like, hey, Irma, here's the schedule that we have. If you have volunteers, you can share the schedule. Maybe it's in their area, and we can arrange for that to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And with landlord tenant, that's definitely one of those areas that we see a lot. There's a lot of forms and tools that already exist to help tenants, for example, file an answer. But that's definitely a big area, whether it's drafting notices from the tenant to the landlord, or drafting a proper answer with a motion to determine rent in an eviction defense case. And criminal
Exactly.
record, sealing and expungement. Irma, have you
Foreclosure.
heard of it?
Hmm.
Foreclosure. Those are ticking up again. And we were actually, Irma and I were discussing food stamps with the government shutdown. Somebody just
Yeah.
put in, Tricia put in public benefits coming in November with what
Yeah.
could happen with the government shutdown. So,
That's a rough one. That's a real rough one.
well,
I
and
don't
this
know
is
what
where
we're gonna do with that.
I would encourage everybody, like the same way, like as when I saw this for the bar article back in February, mentioning the volunteer program for paralegals, and I'm like, I want to bring this to the statewide training community to make sure to help spread the word. It's a brand new program, and I wanted to use this opportunity to make sure that everybody knows Irma, that everybody knows about the program. They know now how to contact Irma. If there are any obstacles or issues that come up, we can come up with ideas on how to address. Obviously, we can bring the legal aid perspective to Irma, and Irma can also bring the paralegal perspective to us, right? So,
Exactly.
all right,
Great
well,
partnership.
love it. So I don't think we have any additional questions. We are done a bit earlier, but I'll be sending out the email. So we see one more comment here. veterans disability, I'm
Yeah,
sure would appreciate any assistance as well. And Irma, we know we have a lot of legal aid organizations that have their own special veterans unit here at FLS. We have a great attorney. Her name is Christy Vagalo. So if you ever have, if there's ever the opportunity to collaborate on anything involving veterans, I'm
absolutely,
more than happy to
absolutely.
connect you with a lot of with my own colleagues and a lot of the other legal aid organizations that also assist
Thank you. Thank
veterans.
you for the opportunity. Thank you for, yes, the opportunity to be of service.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us here today. Not only you, Irma, but everybody that joined us. We learned a lot about this new program, and I think the most important thing is making sure we put it to really good use because I know
Yes,
there is a need. Help us, everybody here, help us spread the word. If you talk to your pro bono department if they were not aware of this program, and start the collaboration, start communicating so that we can collaborate and help make sure that this program continues to grow. So. Irma, thank you so much for being here and taking your time to present for us. I've been looking forward to this webinar for a long time. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous in the chat, so that tells you how much people appreciate
good
this.
job, good job.
Yeah. So thank you again, Irma. Have a great day, and everybody for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.